Hi, everyone. Welcome to the USU podcast. This is Julie. I am your host. And let me just tell you, grab your seat, take a moment, get ready for an incredible interview. You are in for such a treat today. I want to introduce you to Amber Bodily. She is a natural health practitioner, a medical intuitive, a certified foot zonologist. We'll talk about all of this, and a master herbologist who has helped thousands of people recover to their full health, me included. After experiencing how foot zonology and natural health saved her children's lives, Amber was moved to devote herself full-time to helping others heal through natural means. A few years into her practice, she started to develop an intuitive understanding of the well-being of her clients. She found that she could see into their organs and hear what their body was calling for and feel the trauma in their cells. Just by looking at someone or hearing their voice, she has a keen perception of the state of their health and how they can heal. Her passion and greatest desire is to empower you to heal. So with that, this is such a joy and gift for me to introduce you to Amber. Amber, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so honored that you provided this space so that we can talk and share. And I am so honored to talk with you. You inspire so many people. So I think it's just a delight to be here and chat with each other.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Well, I have so many questions that I'm like trying to manage myself right now.
And I'm dive into them.
I'm like, there's so much to go into. Usually I start out with this question around like, what does it mean to be your USU? What does that look like for you? I mean, I know that's been a journey, big time for you. Whatever that looks like, that means just your kind of journey around that would be awesome to hear.
Yeah, without talking for several hours
Right.
on the USU. But I think what that looks like is honoring your gifts, honoring your gifts and talents. So many times whether it's information that rents space in our head, or if the perception we give ourselves, we feel like sometimes we have to fit in this box and be this certain person and do these certain things and become this certain being, when in reality we start to dismiss who we really are and who we can become. And we start putting our gifts and talents on the back burner because we think they're not of value, or we think that people are going to mock us, or we think that, that's not a great thing. So we start to aspire what other people have instead of just celebrating what we do have and honoring the gifts and talents that we have. When we do that, I feel like amazing things happen within. We start blossoming and becoming the individual that we are, that we were made to be. And I feel like that's always forever growing and expanding, because as we go throughout life and have these experiences and these learnings and these knowings, things change and more expansion happens. But if we were to really honor the gifts and talents that we have, we can move mountains and we can do amazing things. So not to turn that down. And so to become the best you, start honoring those things that you do have and start paying attention to them, start using them, start practicing them. And sometimes our greatest talent is to love, Yeah.
I love that. I'm so with you on that. I mean, when in doubt, let it out. Like when in doubt, just have love, and
yes,
it'll figure itself out.
Yeah. And, I run into a lot of people and they're like, oh, but I don't have any gifts and talents, or, oh, I don't have that. So many of us have so many gold mines within us, but we haven't spent the time to go search them or find them or cultivate them. And I have found so many people I meet have such amazing gifts, but somehow in their mind, they feel like they're not really gifts and they're not really of value. So we need to shift that thinking of honoring the wonderful things that we have and start utilizing them.
I want to come back to that in a little bit, just ways that before we look at ways to, because I'm thinking for people, like you said, they're like, I don't know what my gifts are, or I've been, I know there are listeners who are in the parenting stage and maybe they're working, maybe they're stay at home, but it's like, I don't know, I'm far away from that. Like, how do I even find it again? Or did I have it to begin with? Like, these are, I want to come back to those questions. I'm making a note to myself. I've got
good.
There's so much richness with you and what you do. And I can only imagine, especially those listening that don't know much about medical intuition. That's one of the first things to talk about, because it sounds to me like this sort of came to you recently, or it wasn't something maybe you always knew about, or share maybe your experience, how you uncovered this, because it is
Okay. Yeah. So as I started to begin this journey of healing with my children, I really started searching and seeking and asking for some more guidance. I hit rock bottom with my older son's health, and I ended up camping out in the emergency rooms. Everybody at the doctor's office knew me by their first name. And I got to the point remembering like, this can't be it. This can't be the answer. I just had this instinct knowing that there's something more, there's something greater, there's something that we're not tapping into as far as information for him. It was like, there was this whole plane of doctors and people diagnosing him with certain things, but I felt like we were still missing something. Something was still felt off. And so I started just really searching into other modalities and other kind of treatments and started saying, okay, what we're doing isn't quite working. Let's try to find something else. And so there was this little nag inside of me. It was just like, go searching, go find something. And as I would go search and find and try other different treatments and modalities, information would start coming to me, whether it was an understanding, whether it was a thought, some information would come in dreams, some information, I'd like almost hear it in my mind, and I would pay attention to it, where before I used to dismiss this. So rewind, as a child, I used to have a sense of knowing. I don't know how else to say it, where I would feel things, I would sense things, I would know things, but I didn't quite know how to explain it. So sometimes if I would try to share what I know or explained, it wasn't received very well. And so I started to just shut that down, just turn it off and kind of close in. And I got to be a very quiet person. And I just kind of went inward, thinking that I was weird. Or why would I sense and why would I feel these things? Things that would happen, but I would know more information than what was there. Or as I read and study something, I would see way more than what was on the lines of the paper. And so anyways, I started to shut that down because I would get in trouble or was looked upon as like, oh, crazy Amber, and all her craziness. And so I shut it down. I just turned it off and I kind of forgot about it. And so I just started doing, okay, we're not going to get in trouble if we do this, so we do it this way. But I really started shutting down me and who I really was. And it wasn't until I had my son, who was extremely ill, that I started to try to awaken this again. Not intentionally, but it started to come the more I started yearning and asking for it. And so as I was able, fast forward, to help my kids heal, my first son is completely healed, and then my second son who had brain tumors, when I started learning and studying about the human body and what it could do, I started sensing more than what my studies were giving me. So of course I would study anything and everything that I could, but there was always questions. It was like, this isn't complete. There's something more. So I would ask and I would receive information. And I'm a firm believer of ask and you shall receive. You might not receive it in the way you want it, but it'll come, whether in little hints here and there. And so I started to pay attention to it. So when studying the human body of what I do now and working on people's feet with foot zoning, I would feel and sense and know and see what was going on in their bodies. And so I started paying attention to that. And as I started to pay attention to that, it just started blossoming like a rose. So just like you would nurture a plant and you'd water and feed it, things started happening. But I didn't really... It didn't really one day be like, oh my goodness, this is what it is. It was like this journey of expansion in it. And as this was happening, I was kind of like, everybody knows this. Everybody does this. Yeah, everybody can see this. Everybody can sense this. And it wasn't until a strong realization as these beautiful people were put on my path the last 5 years, like all of a sudden I would meet a medium or I'd meet another medical intuitive. They would be like at a party and just be like, I need to talk to you. Or I'd meet all these people that would just come out of nowhere on my path and they would say, Amber, you have a gift and you need to use it. I'm like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, everybody has this. And they're like, not everybody. Yes, everybody can receive gifts like this, but it's just like someone run. We can all run. Some are more gifted runners than others, right? So we all have a sense of knowing and a sense of intuition within our being. but some can expand it and are a little bit more sensitive to it than others. It always can be worked on and get to that point, but it's something that came naturally to me. So as I started to kind of look around after a couple people had kind of shown this to me, like, hey, this isn't quote unquote your normal thing, I started paying more attention to it. And I started really trying to seek out what the information was showing to me. So when I would work on people, I would immediately sense things that were going on in their body. And instead of brushing it off of like, oh, I must pick this up from somewhere, something, I would acknowledge it as their body telling me, or a higher power, or, my intuition was tuning into this. And so I would listen, and not everything came very easy. It was like puzzle pieces. I would smell things. Like, for instance, when I was working on somebody who had severe rheumatoid arthritis, I would start smelling and tasting chlorine. And then it was like I would hear water. And I was like, okay, what is this? And then what I would learn now, it was just like there was chlorine running through her veins that was literally eating away at her joints from her living in the pool the last 5 years. So it would give me more information to try to help that individual and help me be a better practitioner for them, to help give them the remedies and the information that they need to know so that they can get better. So it's just been this journey. It's been a challenging one, to say the least, but an amazing one of just kind of surrendering to information that comes, and when it comes, to listen to it. Yeah.
Woo, I've got chills. This is, to me, one of the most interesting topics. And I think this whole realm that you're talking about, it's like we all have different intuitive gifts. And this sounds like just such an important gift of yours that really, I know, is getting the opportunity to work with you was super helpful, and use that for the good. I can only imagine the reaction sometimes to this, to accessing this realm.
Oh yeah.
I want to go into that. I'm curious about even the training, like how, and I asked this, so for myself, that's another conversation. I feel like I have a knowing and intuition. It's funny. I'm like, maybe, I don't know if it's like this. And it's like, I've been listening more. And for those who are listening that maybe have like that faith whisper and they're like, I think I know what she's talking about. Those that are like, oh, I definitely have a knowing about something.
Yeah.
I don't know where my knowing is, but wherever you are on the spectrum, like we all have some aspect of the gift. This obviously is a major gift. How did you train? Is there a training you go through?
Right. So one thing I feel very blessed is this woman came on my path, and she is very gifted in the same arena, who has gone through this years and years before I did. So she kind of got this training. And so I look up to her and kind of work with her in a sense of like when I have questions for things. But training, I've never been to any physical training. I've never been through any guided class or schooling for this. It's just been kind of like, I'm going to go with it and see where it takes me. And I do know that not every person is exactly the same, but we can have similar gifts. And so when working or talking with other people that have this similar sense of knowing and these similar gifts, it's been very helpful for me on this journey. It has been complete trust and complete faith. And again, I have to say, it has not been an easy one, because as you know, when people find out that you tap into this other realm, sometimes there's people very loving about that, and some people who are very against it, Mm-hmm. And reality is, with this gift, I've realized is that we're here to help everybody, or for me, we're here to help everybody that comes in our past. And for me, it's to help them become the best them they can be. When they're sick and when they're tired and they can't get out of bed, or they've been living in the hospital, or they're on 9 different medications and now they're in a wheelchair, it's very hard to be the best them. Yes, these experiences can shape them, and yes, they can build them. It can build faith. But what I feel like I'm here to do is help those people heal so that they can be the best them. They can fulfill their passion. They can fulfill their dreams. They can fulfill their gifts that they have when they have a physical vessel that's working properly. So my job is to help them do that and to use these gifts along the way. So working with just these other people that have come my way to, one, reassure me, hey, you've got something, use it, or otherwise you lose it, kind of thing. And to recognize it and keep moving forward with it. So as far as this training, it's honestly just been go with the flow with it. But again, like I've had a couple little mentors that I check in with and be like, can you help me understand this? Or I'm feeling really alone in my life with this gift. Can you give me some encouragement as I move forward?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I can imagine you are a channel. You're a beacon. You're getting information that, and I would imagine for each person, each body is so different. And so tuning and tapping into that and then being that clear channel, that's like, that takes something to be that way for each person. And I give you so much credit, the courage it takes to step into this gift. I can only imagine.
Thank you. That means a lot.
As somebody, I feel like intuition, and I want to talk about that more too, as well.
Yeah.
It's something that, I'm feeling like I'm hearing, Julie, you need to tune in more to the intuition that's within you so I can help people. And I'm still kind of like, I'm not exactly sure what that looks like yet.
Yeah.
And I've had a little like, oh my gosh, what does that mean? Like, does that mean,
Yeah.
because I can kind of get a sense, and that scares me. I'm like, well, that's going to take a little courage. All right, I need to have full-time faith here. Like, you've made that choice to have that faith and that courage. And yeah, I mean, and for those listening that are like, well, what's the science behind it? Like, this is the realm where, I mean, can I share? Because we did a session and it was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, for those listening, those know, I mean, I have Hashimoto's. I used to eat a lot of sugar. I struggled with food addiction. I take good care of myself. And still I was like, I'm not feeling 100%. And you didn't know a thing about me, Amber, and you knew nothing. And right away, I mean, I remember this. You said, it's not your thyroid. Actually, that's not the main thing. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't tell her about my thyroid. Gives me the chills. I mean, it was really powerful, the session, and what you did say to focus on. I mean, it's a couple weeks since then, or month or so, and I'm already in a way better place and continuing. And you knew things that I then went and got blood tests and functional medicine and a doctor, and it was like confirmed everything.
Yay. Good.
Yeah.
So one thing that you brought up just a little bit earlier is coming to become a medical intuitive. That took me a while to own that name.
Yeah.
And I think, like you were saying, you're starting to ping. I don't know what else to call it. With my language, I call it pinging. Things start pinging us, or we ask for things to ping us. And when we give it space, or we give it attention, more will ping us. But I remember for such a long time, I was like, oh, I'm not a medical intuitive. No, I just help people. I see what's in their bodies. And it wasn't until a couple people coming along and say, Amber, listen, you're a medical intuitive, just own it. And then I realized, once I just own those gifts and not fear what other people were going to think, and not fear what other friends I was going to lose along the way, and just be it felt so freeing. And then I just felt all of a sudden more just started to open up. So going back onto the things of just honoring our gifts that we have, and not being afraid what other people are going to think about them.
Yes, beautiful. And I'm thinking, those listening, look, it may not be medical intuition. It could be some, getting more into art therapy, being an artist, being whatever it is, whatever it is your gift or your calling is. I've, as an entrepreneur, felt that way, but certainly when you start owning that, and there's probably that place where you had to just come to I'm taking that name on, and I get it might drive some people away, and that's okay.
Yeah. And that's okay. And being okay with it. Just knowing that you are you, and I'm being the best me that I can. And that's what I need to do. And those people that are in alignment, they come. And those people that weren't in alignment, that were kind of weighing us down, but not realizing it, they disperse, So it's been, it's been an interesting journey.
Wow. My gosh, what a gift to be able to get those messages. I know when I was talking about you in the beginning, it's like really see, to hear, and to feel what's going on in the field of somebody's temple space, their body. I just, that's pretty extraordinary. And,
So I have to tell you, sometimes it is a little bit challenging, I'm sure, as you know, but because I'll be at the grocery store and I'll be getting ready to check out. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, all this information will come about the grocery clerk and what she needs and what needs to be done. And she's struggling with this. And if you just give her this. And sometimes I'm like, what? Why me? Why am I going to give her this? And she's going to think I've lost my mind. I am literally crazy. And so I've learned the hard way sometimes of just not sharing because I've been too shy or not quite knowing how to open up in years past. And then finding out later about that individual, what had happened, I thought, oh, if I just would have opened my mouth and shared, or I just would have been a little bit stronger. So now I've realized that just share with love. Yep. And just share the message that comes, and it's up to them to receive it or not. Mm-hmm. And that is, and don't think about it, and just move on, and not again worry what they're going to think, or they're going to poo-poo on you or frown you, and that's okay. My job was to just share the message.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah, I can imagine, especially those listening who might be in the space of, I do a lot around like personal responsibility and victimhood and owning your life. And when I hear people speak, myself included, I'm like, what you just said, I also believe in what we say, what creates a reality. And,
mm-hmm.
I'll usually say something like, would it be okay if I shared this? Or I'm noticing, but I think for you, because that gift is so channeled into you, I mean, I can imagine it's sort of a like, okay, what do I do with that? Like I was getting some sweet potatoes at the supermarket.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with this?
Right.
But as you said, as a person committed to being loving, a light bringer of love, like, what a beautiful tenet to decide, okay, I'm going to share it lovingly and they can do what they want with it.
Right. And then share it with just complete love, and just, you can plant a seed and it might grow, it might not, but at the end of the day, I did my part, and my job was to share,
For those listening that really want to cultivate more intuition wherever they are, I'm wondering if you have any tips, ideas, things to share, because I know me, I'm one of them. Working
yes.
So what do you say to that? Like, where do you begin? What can you share that?
Where do I begin? Because one of the things is when I teach my classes, my foot zoning classes or my health classes, whatever, I really love to teach people how to be in touch or in tune more with themselves, because I feel like that is the best compass that you can have in this lifetime. So what I usually start telling people is the trust, have faith and trust. If a thought comes, if anything comes to your mind that you're going, what is this? Give place for it. Instead of saying like, what is this? Say, oh, what are you showing me? Mm-hmm. Does a song come to your mind? You have a feeling. It's as moms, as motherly, as we call them our motherly instincts, mama bear instincts. Notice that if you don't want your kid to go to that party, you don't have to have scientific reason why you should not go to that party or should not take him to that party. Trust that instinct and that knowing. Don't sit there and battle with it. Well, everybody's going to think, why didn't I go? Oh, everybody, the party's, I'm sure, going to be safe. But then you still have this feeling of not to go. It might be because on your way there, something pleasant wasn't going to happen, or you weren't going to be at the right place or right time, or you were going to miss out on some information that you needed or an event to take place if you weren't at the party. And that has happened so many times for me in my lifetime, but also with students and things. As things come up, you have to trust and you have to have faith, okay? Because when you start to recognize this information that comes, a thought, a feeling, little bits of information that are pinging you, your body's going to give you more information about it and going to give you more pings the more time and space you give to it. If you always brush stuff off, then it's not going to come anymore. You always just push it aside. So if you can just not have to have, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but you don't have to have scientific backing and concrete information for everything that comes your way, okay? Because some things are not written yet. Some books are not written yet. Some information is not known to man yet, but it can ping you. So give space to that and trust. If your gut is giving you some information about somebody or something or a house that you just don't want to move into, go with it. Everything on paper can see how this is the best house to move in and all that, but your gut is telling you no. Go with your gut. But a lot of us excuse it and push it away because on black and white, it says this is the best. And then we usually move into things or we, move through life and move into things and we don't listen. It comes to show itself later on. Something else that I recommend to my students and also people I come in contact with ask me, how do I cultivate this intuition? What I call that was taught to me is sacred writing. I sit down with a pen and paper and I ask the question in the mind and the hand will write the answer. I'm a firm believer that our hand is directly connected to our heart. Okay? And your heart will speak with more knowings that our head can even give us when we just start writing things down on paper. So when we're wanting to seek more information, but just kind of not quite sure where to go, what to do, just start writing. Just start writing the questions that come and just let your hand write the answers. When you trust your hand, you start to begin to trust higher knowings and higher realms. And I have found when people do this, things start expanding really quickly, very quickly. Sometimes you're like, why am I writing this? And I would do that. And then 2 days later, I'd go back and read them like, oh my goodness, look at what I was writing. This makes so much sense to me. More knowings. So to trust that, to trust your heart. Sometimes we have to get our head out of the way. And sometimes our head will rent a lot of space in it that shouldn't be there. We need to push that aside and go with the heart and go with what our body is telling us, whether it's seeing, hearing, smelling, touch. We have all these senses that are giving us information that we might not be able to put our finger on it, but it's pinging us. And to trust it. That's the big one, is just to trust it. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
What I'm also hearing you say, and frankly I've experienced myself as well, is that the more you give it airtime and time to be with it, it's like the more it feels invited and welcome, and the more it expands.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And so it is with all things about life.
Right. That's really a good point.
Yeah.
I think one of the things we're talking about too, and I'm curious your feelings and thoughts about it. Between the five senses, of course, then my self goes to, okay, the sixth sense and beyond. And you'd mentioned, the idea of higher realms. Yeah. I'm curious what you're comfortable or what you feel you can share on that. I'm thinking there are listeners that right now might be like, what are we talking about? And there's some who might be like, this is my language, because I know I both.
Yes.
So maybe just from that perspective, like, because for those who are into yoga or chakras, we talk about the chakra, the sixth sense.
Yeah.
A place to think about for others to be more in the realm of the other side, beyond the veil, dimension. So whatever you want to, I'm curious how you see that or do that or feel that.
How do I see it or feel it? Is that what you're asking? Or how do I perceive it?
Yeah, like how you, kind of from how do you feel it? How do you see it as an intuitive? What are the different ways you experience that?
Okay, so one thing is I see it as kind of everything. So there's some people who call it a certain thing. They'll use certain language or certain verbiage for the higher realm, the third eye, the all-seeing eye, the crown chakra. There's so many different languages, but we're all speaking the same thing. And I know some people get hung up on, well, are you talking to spirits, or are you like playing around with angel guides, or what is this? And to me, it's like we're sharing the same message, or we're talking the same lingo. It's just in a couple different languages, but we're all tapping into the same source, this all-knowing, all-seeing, but we are spiritual beings in a physical body. I mean, if you want to get in detail, science has backed this up, but they don't quite know how to explain it, but they know that there is something more that we can actually put our finger on, and that's something that we could look underneath a microscope. But there is a spirit, there is an essence, and there is a sense within us. And so for me, how I see it and how I feel it is just I don't know if I can find even words for it, but it's just a higher sense of knowing. And sometimes I mean, I'll be 100% honest and raw and authentic right now. I feel beings. Sometimes I feel that. And this has come the last 2 or 3 years. I feel beings. I sense them. I feel their energy. Other times it's just a sense of knowing all throughout my being, where a thought comes to my mind and I know it sure as day, like I watched it on the TV. That's how it'll be in my mind. And I will get this just pure confirmation through my body, whether it's goosebumps or this burning in my bosom of just like, this is truth. And to go with that. So how I see it is just that, I mean, to be honest, that we're all these physical beings having spiritual experiences, or we're all spiritual beings having these physical experiences. But I see it as this beautiful place of love and divine light, and these wonderful, wonderful ways of more expansion that we can tap into. And so I'm not quite sure exactly how to explain that, but sometimes it's just seeing beyond the physical eye, seeing whether you want to call it heaven, whether you want to call it the universe, whether you want to call it energy or light, or seeing beyond this realm. It's this beautiful, great place. So I don't know if that even answers your question or not. But
that's beautiful. No, I love it. And I'm thinking, for some, it might be more like a gut feeling, a knowing.
Yes.
That it might feel physically. I get visions and I see things.
Yeah.
Like, I'll literally, or I'll know something and I don't know why I know it. And
right. Yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm curious for you, for me, what I've noticed is I have to be out of my head, my brain. If I'm thinking about something, you're probably really skilled, but for those like working on intuition, what I have found is that it does not live in my brain or my mind.
You're exactly right.
Like it just, the minute I try to have a sense about somebody or something, it's like goes offline. I can't do it. When I'm not doing that, is usually things drop in. And I'm like, I don't know how I know that, but I know.
Yeah. Yeah. And allowing it to drop in, right? Because when you move out of your head, you get into your heart, or you get in a place of complete openness.
Right.
Comes because you're providing that space. I know for me, it's different times. Like before, it was just this sense of knowing, like, oh, I know that, but how do I know that? So how it kind of, where things started to open up, I remember being in some classes. I've taken a lot of different classes and studied under a lot of different people in the holistic arena field. Yeah. And I remember reading and studying something. And then when we'd open and talk about it, the instructor or people in the class, like, how do you know that? Where did you read that? And I'm like, well, don't we all know that? Isn't that information there? And because the information would just come. And so it would just be a sense of knowing. Then the more I started to work with this, then I would smell things. Then I would taste things. Like if I'm trying to know something, I would taste things in my mouth. Then I would begin to hear things, but I would hear it in my brain. It wouldn't be an outside voice, but I would hear it in the brain. And then it was like, oh, wow. And then the visions started coming, the dreams. And even sometimes I wasn't asking. And I remember talking with one of my mentors. I was just like, because I was having an exceptionally challenging month with different people who are not real enthusiastic about what I do, and they seem to be very vocal about it. And these dreams would be coming about these people that needed specific information about their health.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, and so I would be talking to this gal, and I'd be like, why does this information come? I'm not seeking for it. I'm not wanting this right now. And she just said, because you're open to more heavenly things. You're providing space. And to be honest, Amber, she said, anyway, because everybody is an amazing person. We all have our hangups. We all have whatever. And any way that the realm above can get them information, they're going to send it any way they can. So if you're open, it's going to come, and you are hopefully entrusting, or they are entrusting you with this information to pass it along. And I remember thinking, what? I have too many things to do. I don't want to do this. And some people, I'll again be authentic and raw right now. These were people that had a very hard time with me.
Sure.
And, and what I do, and I was like, I'm supposed to go to them and tell them this information about their health. They're going to be like, okay, crazy lady. And where did you get this information from? But it was clear as day of what was going on in their body, how it needed to take place, and the timeline. If they did not take care of this, then these things can happen. And so it's hard, but some stuff comes through visions. Some stuff comes through dreams. Some stuff, if I stand next to somebody, then it'll come. And then I have to decide, okay, am I going to pass this information on or not? And always you pass it on, and, in a very loving way. And I'll usually ponder on it for a minute or two or three and figure out, how do I navigate this information to them? Because everybody speaks a different language. Even though we all speak English, we all receive things in a different light. So it's like, how can I share this with the language and verbiage that is needed so they will be receiving of it? So yeah, so many things come in so many different ways, in so many different avenues.
The piece I think you said that's so key is that you're open to it, and that trusting and the heart-centered connection. And, I think this is where the courage comes in. And one of the reasons I just fell in love with you and wanted you to be here is, talking about really the USTU. It's the idea that, I see it as we're sacred, divine individuation of force, of love, of whatever you call it, creator of all of us. And to me, it's like, I can't go through my life and not help people to be that full flower expression, or whatever you want to think of it as. And so it's like, I'm not okay with not doing that. Maybe because part of my own journey was having not felt like I was, to now feeling more like I am. And it's an ongoing journey. For you, it's your USU, like who you really are. I can imagine, especially in a society, look, there might be some listening. They're like, okay, I don't know the science behind it. Like, I don't have the concrete. I can imagine that being really challenging at times. I know there's some like me where I probably live a little in the other world more. Like, as long as it feels right intuitively, that's how I do everything. It's not that way. And so I would imagine just learning how to navigate that. And anyone listening, whatever your gifts are, they're going to be probably people that may not see it that way. And that's okay. Learning to be okay with that.
And that is okay, right? Because at the end of the day, I remember telling myself, when people are like, you're a medical intuitive, I'm like, nah, I'm not that. There's so many other people that are so much better at this. And they're like, Amber, just own it, And at the end of the day, I remember thinking, it is what it is. And I am going to feel stuck and broken if I don't be who I am, if I'm not authentic, if I'm not being me. And I think that is for everybody. At the end of the day, if you're not you, it's a very icky place to be. You get stuck, you start gravitating to people that you're not jiving with, and you feel stuck. And at the end of the day, you're feeling unhappy or middle ground. You're not feeling this high vibration because you're not reaching your potential.
That's right.
And that either consciously or subconsciously. So at the end of the day, just owning it. And I remember just thinking, you know what, it is what it is. And to just move forward with this, because if not, I'm going to be a very broken person, and I'll probably bring on physical ailments when I'm not allowing to be my best me. And then also too, if I don't, what really got me is, who am I not going to be able to reach to help them transform their life?
Yeah.
That really got to me, is like, there's other people out there that need this information. And what if I can share that? And what if I don't?
Right.
That is not right, Amber. And that's where I thought, like, oh, yes, it is what it is, and I need to move forward with this. And at the end of the day, I know my husband still loves me, and I know my kids still love me.
Right.
And that is the best thing.
Right.
I still get hugs and kisses from my 3-year-old, and that is my
awesome.
world.
That is so awesome. Quick question for you. I've always had this theory. I mean, it's not really a theory. I was just listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Back of Being Yourself. It's a lot of what we're talking about in some ways. And I've had this feeling like, being your highest potential, your USU, it actually also affects your health. And I'm curious if you can see, I don't know if you feel or see that with people, but the way I feel it is energy feels clogged or stuck, myself or others, when they're not. I don't have, at least not now, I don't have that gift where like what you do, but I'm wondering
it's coming.
Right. I know. I'm like, well, that's another day, another day offline. I can see it and feel it immediately. To me, it feels like energy, but I'm wondering, you have like a lot more knowledge on that. Does that, can you sense that with people? Like, okay, that emotion, I wonder how that plays.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So people's emotions get stuck in their body. Our body, every cell is energy. If you do remember science class, every cell, there is energy. I mean, if we think about it, what are calories? If you look at the definition of calorie, it's the measurement of energy. Yeah. We are energy, whether people want to dispute that or not, get down to the physics of it. And so energy is always flowing and moving. When energy gets stuck, then it becomes a problem. Imagine a flow of moving water. It's beautiful, it's pristine. Then it comes to a pond, and if it gets stuck and it stops, it becomes stagnant, slow, mildew grows, unclean algae grows, and it becomes a stinky mess. And a lot of bacteria can grow there. Exact same thing what happens in the body. When the energy is not flowing, it gets stuck and things gather and gravitate towards there. Bad bacteria, bad viruses, because it's a very low energy. And then that causes physical illness in the body. Now, when we hold on to certain emotions, or we're not fulfilling what we should be doing, if we're not moving forward with being our best self, that energy is going to get stuck. Also, so if we have fear, if we have guilt, if we have sadness, if we have anger, all these things, they get stuck in our body. We have to take care of them. I mean, heaven forbid, that's why we have psychologists, because these people are trying to work out these emotions that we've stored in our body, or we just don't know what to do with them. They get stuck. I do know, which I loved listening to your podcast over the Thanksgiving week on gratitude, because as we know, the more gratitude that we can think of and be and speak, the more the vibration and the higher energy comes into the body and literally can negate and erase these negative stagnant spots in our body. Like, hands down. It's like if you have a dark room and you just bring light into it, the room becomes lighter and lighter and lighter. Just as you have stuck energy in the body, you bring in this higher vibration, this higher energy, that stuck energy is going to move. The situation that we have when people get really sick from this stuck energy, it's because it was sitting there for so long and they were feeding it and giving it energy, that stagnant spot. And then things start to erupt. The systems don't start to work right. Symptoms start to rise. Our body starts to break down. So absolutely, when we are not being us, when I'm not being me and you're not being you, our energy doesn't flow very well. It's like a hiccup in the system. It's not true to itself. Okay. So it doesn't fall in sync, and energy doesn't flow as easy. So absolutely, we need to move forward with great energy, with gratitude, with joy, and to just say, this is who I am. And I'm happy with who I am. And I'm going to move forward with that. And as I transform and become into something else, I'm going to move into that and just be happy about it. And our health literally takes a huge shift. And I've seen thousands of people where even just working on them, as information comes to me, I'll ask them about certain instances that happened in their life. And as always, they go, how do you know that? But it was like, you know what, let's address this. And maybe this is for you to do a writing on it, or you to start thinking about it, or for you to let it go because it's festering too much on the inside, and to let that go, and let's work it out, and let's raise the vibration, and let's get the energy flowing so that you can heal.
Yeah. So beautiful. Of course, I have like a million ideas. I'm like, all right, we will talk another time, because I think there's something to do together, or just, I want,
yes.
Yes. And I'm going to have your information, just, because it's such a connection. I've experienced this personally, and I bet anyone listening, if you've gone through a dip or down time, or, really tough breakdown, my whole physicality shifted. It was wild. I mean, in all ways for the positive, when I made a massive transformation. For me, must learn experientially, because it was a lot of my life. I've done like a 180, 360, but that makes a lot of sense for energy. Of course, that makes a lot.
It gets stuck, and it's like a sitting pond in the body, and stuff starts to fester there. But what I love about the work you do is that you help people become the U.S. them, the U.S. you, and get people to start thinking, who am I? What is my passion? What is my dream? What is my goal? Some people have it, they don't know how to cultivate it, or some people just aren't certain because they have been told, not always, but they've been told, oh, that's not you, or you shouldn't do that. And so they push things aside. And now they've realized they're unhappy, or they need to do something more with their lives, and they're needing to dig that up. So the message that you bring is also transforming people's health. Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, I think in a similar realm, I feel like part of my work is, especially having gone through tough times and seeing that so much of it was the inner belief, not being good enough, not being lovable, all of that. how it
Yeah.
affected my health and my food addiction, all of that was, and then to see the shift, it's like, okay, if I can go through that, anybody can change. And then isn't that part of the sacred mandate, the reason we came here, right? Like
Yeah.
we all do that. I just, I believe you do your USDU, I do mine. Like we each, if everybody steps into that, that changes, that definitely could change what's going on the planet. I believe that.
Can you imagine the vibration that would come, the love, the healing, if we just honored ourselves and we were the best person that we could be?
Yeah.
Yeah, the you is you.
Yeah. Which is not perfect. I always say, like, we're
Mm-mm.
human, we're still in the human field.
Totally.
Imperfectly, lovingly, compassionately, exactly.
Mhm.
Before we wrap, two questions, because I'm curious.
Yes.
We didn't circle back about your son and your
Oh,
son.
yes.
Are they okay? And how are they doing?
Yes. Thank you so much for asking.
Yeah.
Yes. And I didn't give clarification on that. So my oldest son, absolutely, he's fine. He's thriving. He's amazing. He was diagnosed with, autism, lung disorder, liver failure, severe leg spots, psoriasis, and eczema from head to toe. And he is no longer any of that. So absolutely thriving and doing fabulous. And it's interesting because so many people say, oh, you're so lucky your kids are so healthy. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, you have no idea what I've been through. But they're thriving because of me taking care of them and meeting their physical, emotional, and mental needs, and making sure their body is constantly getting what they need. Because a lot of times illnesses come also from deficiencies in the body. Then my second son, absolutely, he was born with, absolutely want to give more information about that. He was diagnosed with brain tumors in utero. And they told me he would live 2 seconds to 2 weeks, and that would be it. And so we had picked a plot out for him and be ready. But in utero, I decided, hey, I'm gonna do what I can. I can't sit here and just watch this happen. And so just doing everything for my body, because he was in me, and knowing that everything I ate, everything I did would get to him. And by the time he was born, he had just a couple cysts left on the brain, and then we were able to clean those out all naturally and avoid surgery. And so now he's a thriving child. But he is he's my teacher. And he is my one that has taught me so much, because the first 5 years of his life, his body seemed so delicate and so volatile at times. If he was exposed to anything that was impure, his whole body would erupt in rashes or burning or itching. If we went to the park where there were pesticides, it was like, oh no. And so I had to navigate through that. What is this? What not? Because the doctors say, oh, you just put cream on it and it's fine. And it's like, we're not getting to the root cause of the problem here. And so he taught me a lot in asking and receiving answers, because when we weren't getting answers in areas that I thought there would be answers, I really had to tune in and navigate to find the right information to help heal my son and make him stronger and make him thrive. Right. And so now he's this amazing, thriving child. So it's been such a joy. But both my children, I have three boys, but my two oldest ones have been my teachers all along the way, because it's like, well, let's heal this. And how do we heal it? And let's move forward. And they really taught me how to ask the right questions, ask the right questions and go finding that information.
Mm.
And my third child, knock on wood, he's great. He's full of life and joy, and he's taught me so much in that realm for sure. But all healthy, and just because, of course, from the beginning, I did everything different. So I have 3 thriving, amazing boys who have taught me so much. They are my teachers, my ultimate teachers.
Unbelievable. Are you
Yeah.
going to ever, I don't know if there's a book on its way or something.
Yes.
I want to read it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so I've started it a couple times, and actually I'm over halfway through it, and then things happen in my life or opportunities come up, and it kind of gets a little bit on hold. But I'm bound and determined to finish that shortly. Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, we'll have you back and talk about it. I know.
Yay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I knew a little bit of your story beforehand, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, to have one child and 2 children,
Yeah.
that kind of extreme health issues. I mean, I have 2 kids. If anything's going on with them, it's like, oh God, what do I do? And I just, what you've been through and what you've said yes to, I think part of what I just acknowledge you for is saying yes fully to your gifts and stepping into that so courageously. And, my intention and hope is that those listening, first of all, if they want to reach you, will have all your information, but also that just seeing, like, whatever it is you feel called to do, be it, do it.
Yes.
That's part of who you decide to be and to come here and express yourself that way. And
Mhm.
I loved your pieces about the trusting yourself and the sacred writing, and yeah,
Yeah.
really having that faith, having that faith.
Mhm. Yeah,
Beautiful.
faith to move forward with your calling, you know. And
Mm,
some of us have big callings, and some of us has lots of little callings with a big calling. And just to honor that and move forward with that and allow yourself to move into that calling.
yeah, beautiful.
Greatness comes when you do that.
I love that. I concur. I'm so aligned with you in that, and it's so true. And it looks different for each of us. It's
Mhm.
when you start tuning in, like you said. I mean, amazing things, like you just said, happen.
Yes. Mm,
Beautiful. Where's the best
wonderful.
place for us to all find you? Is the website?
Yes, thank you for asking. The best place to find me is on the internet at amberbodyhealth.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Amber Bodily Health, and you can also find me on Facebook at Amber Bodily Health. Yeah, so anywhere of those areas is the best place. On my website, I usually launch a blog every week to empower more people and more individuals how to take care of their health and their well-being, because I feel like if we can do more of that, we can be the best me, or you can be the best you if you have more tools to take care of you and your health. So you can go about doing your calling, go about doing your passion. So I like to roll out information there weekly on tips and recipes or information about how to take care of these vessels that we have.
Awesome. I'm signing up like right after we get off. We do this
Yay,
interview.
good.
I'm like, yeah, I need to have that.
Yes.
Goodness gracious, you are such a gift. I think it's so great that your last name is Bodily, by the way. I think that is, I was like, is that chosen? That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's my maiden name, and I've always just stuck with it. And before, so really quickly, you can read about it later, but I did graphic design for 17 years, and I loved what I did. I designed billboards and corporate identity. I did branding for companies in the Silicon Valley. Loved it. But then when my child got sick, I felt this calling to do more of this. So my company was Bodily Design, because that was my name. But in the process, after starting this company, then I got married, and I thought, oh, it's just such a headache to change my last name. I'm just gonna keep it. And so it has. And as I've moved into this different arena in my life, I remember one day I was like, oh my goodness, my last name is what I'm doing. Bodily, the bodily system. It's like it was like one day it just hit me like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
I had,
Yeah.
I'm like, by the way, like, by the by, I don't know, I'm sure she's noticed this, but I looked at your name. I'm like, this is you. Like, way to, that's a cool sync up. Like, way to have the
Yeah.
name that
Yeah.
matches your purpose. That's pretty darn cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is my last name. It's not just the company name, Amber Bodily.
That's so awesome. Well, you're
Yeah.
obviously in alignment then.
Hmm.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I just want to say thank you
Oh, you're
for who
so
you've
welcome.
chosen to be, for being here, for sharing yourself, for being a really important instrument in my own life. I've had the good fortune, pleasure being able to have you help me, and I have a feeling a lot of people listening, and just all the people you help, both at the checkout line, and then those people as clients. And it's just, I think it's such a gift who you are, and thank you for leading the way and empowering us to just say, to have full-time faith and trust and be our best selves, and to, as you said in the very beginning, like, really to know and honor your gifts, and you're doing that. Awesome.
Uh, Thank you. And thank you so much for providing this loving space for us to share. Yeah. And I look forward to chatting it up with you again.
Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. I'm honored, Amber. Thank you.
Thank you.